Hello, this is Anjana and welcome to the third session in Ruby. In this tutorial, we will learn methods in Ruby, predicate methods, instance methods, class methods, singleton methods. Here we are using Ubuntu version 12.04, Ruby 2.0. To follow this tutorial, you must have a basic understanding of object-oriented concepts. You also must have installed Skite editor and have it open. Methods in Ruby are similar to functions in other programming languages. Method names begin with a lowercase letter. You would define a method using the def keyword. Let us define a simple method, taking an argument and printing it out. Switch to Skite editor and type def. Let's name our method as print your name, and let's give the argument as a name, and let's write end to end the method. Let's print the value of the name that's passed in, and here we would be using string interpolation. String interpolation allows Ruby code to appear within a string. Now you'll notice that we do not explicitly specify return value. The method will return the value of the last statement executed. So let's call print your name with an argument which is a string, and let's execute it pressing F5. It prints hello Anjana. Now you can also specify variable number of arguments using the asterisk. We can give any number of arguments and we can access it like you would access an array. So to get the first argument, I would access it using dot first, and it will print hello Anjana. The thing about variable arguments is that even in situations where no argument is passed, the method will not error out. So if I were not to give any argument here, you notice that it does not error out, but it just simply doesn't print it out because there are no values. Ruby also supports default values for the parameters of a method. So if I were to give a default value, let's say Anjana, and if I were to execute it, it would print hello Anjana, even though I did not give any argument. Now let's talk about the different types of methods in Ruby. Ruby has predicate methods, instance methods, class methods, and singleton methods. A predicate method in Ruby is a method that ends with a question mark and returns a true or false. For example, let's call a method active question mark, and it returns a Boolean value true. So let me invoke the method active like so and press F5, and it returns true. So this can also return a false. For instance, 1 is equal to 1, 1 is not equal to 1. Using the comparison operators, it actually returns a true or false, and it gets printed out. That's all there is about predicate methods. What is an instance method? An instance method is a method called on an instance of a class. It is available to any instance of the class. So let's switch back to Skite and let's define an instance method. In fact, all of the methods that we defined so far were indeed instance methods. And we did not explicitly specify a class. If we do not explicitly specify a class, it means that it is a part of the class object. So now let's define an instance method for an explicitly defined class. And let's name the class person with an end to close the method, and let's define a an instance method. All methods are named with starting with a lowercase letter. Let's declare or print some value in this method. And let's indent it. Okay. So a class is nothing but a collection of variables and methods. Class names should always start with a capital letter, and here I have defined an instance method. So objects of a class can invoke this instance method. So first let's define a person object, which is obtained by instantiating the class person. Now you can access the instance method. And when you execute it, it prints out I am an instance method. Now let's look at what class methods are. A class method, on the other hand, is called on a class. It belongs to a class, it's defined for the class, and it's not available to any instance of the class. So let's convert this to a class method. There are several ways of defining class methods. So, let's define a class method A that prints this is one way of defining class methods. Another way is to use the person class name itself, method B, and it prints. Yet another way is to use the class and the less than arrow sign, and then defining the method like any other method. So then you have a class method C with an end, and this will print the same. So it's purely a matter of choice to decide which way to implement class methods. And you'll notice that I've used self here. So Ruby provides you with a startup self at the top level. So in most languages you would have noticed this, the less than arrow sign. It means that it's inheriting from. So you have the self at the top, and this class is inheriting from self. So it will display, if you type self, now let's start with that. I'll just comment this out for the time being. And let me print self. This should be in lowercase, and let's execute it. You'll notice that self prints out main. The class of the main object is object. Class methods are actually instance methods of the eigenclass of the class. This stems out from the fact that in Ruby everything is an object, including classes. Therefore, class methods are instance methods of some object. So let's delete this, and here these are three different ways of defining class methods, and class methods actually get attached to the eigen class. Eigen class is actually nothing but an anonymous class that gets created for the class person. And I will be talking a little bit about EigenClass in the next slide. So now how do you access these class methods? You can access them only using the person class. So you can access class method A, and it will print out whatever is there within the block. Similarly, if you were to execute class method B, it would print out whatever is within the function. So these are all accessed in the same way. F5. So basically, the word Eigen comes from German, roughly connoting something like one's very own. EigenClass is an anonymous class that gets created to hold class methods. The original class gets automatically appointed as the superclass of this anonymous class. So basically, when we defined class less than arrow sign self, it opens the EigenClass of this class and lets you define a method straight in there. The same thing happens while defining class methods in the other two ways. Singleton methods. Singleton methods belong to a specific object of the class. So let's switch back to Skite and define a singleton method. So let's leave an instance method here, something like greeting, and it does a putS hello there or something like that. So in order to build a singleton method, you need to define an object, and let's define a person object. This is a person object, and in order to create a singleton method, you have to create a method specifically for the object, and you can do that by defining a class method for the new method that you would want to create. So let's call the method for lack of a better name, let's call it singleton, and let it putS singleton method. You'll notice that we define singleton methods just like class methods. So now let's invoke the singleton method that we just defined. And let's execute it. You'll see that it prints I am a singleton method. So in this tutorial, we have learned about predicate methods in Ruby, instance methods, class methods, singleton methods, and the EigenClass concept. Ruby has a rich online community and resources for documentation. Try and check them out. Until then, this is Anjana Nair signing off. Thank you.